y'all? It's Risa with another speed build. So this is another one of the catalog homes that I have done before. So this, which if you would like to find other catalog homes to build yourself, they're really, really fun to build in my opinion. You can find this plan and a bunch of other plans over on antiquehomestyle.com under plans. I will link that in the description. This one's fantastic. It is from a catalog in 1908, so it's fantastic. This one I didn't get a price on, so I don't know how much this catalog home cost you at the time. However, I do know that it was all inclusive, so you could get all of the, whatchamacallums, you could get the entire, all of the materials. That's what I'm trying to say. You could find all of the material, you get all of the materials just by ordering it online. So I think that, not online, from a catalog. Online, Risa. What are you on about? So, it's been a day. So, and it's really only like 3:30, and yet I didn't even wake up until almost noon, and yet it still is just a day for me. But I think these are really cool, being able to get these, find these catalog homes and build them, because it really gives us an insight into what homes were like at the time. And I think that's pretty cool, you know? Don't you? Don't you think it's cool that we can just look online? You can even find this kind of stuff on Pinterest and be able to straight up just see what houses used to be like and what specifically people were wanting to live in and stuff like that. It's just really cool. So in this catalog, there were a bunch of other homes that I might do a couple of, like some bungalows and stuff like this. But I was drawn to this one because of that tower. I think it's fantastic. And the roofing is so weird. So you will notice that suddenly there will be a roof. Oh wait, it already happened. Suddenly there's a roof, because the thing is, the roofing on this house took me an hour. The first go took me an hour. I then proceeded to mess around with it off screen and some on screen, which I also cut out a good portion of it. And I did end up, what you see at the end of the speed build itself is not what the roofing ends up looking like completely, because after I did all of my filming and took most of my screenshots, what I ended up having to do was go back in and change a couple things. My husband helped me because there were some clipping issues that were going on that were really frustrating to me, that I couldn't get to work right. And you know how sometimes with the Sims, what can happen is you can get you put the roof up next to it, and sometimes it'll show through on the wall. And the whatever siding you have outside, or wall covering you have outside, is showing through on the inside wall, and I absolutely hate that so much. My husband helped me come up with a solution after the fact, which is a bummer that I didn't get it on film, but at the same time, I don't think you guys would want to see me messing around with that for an hour. The first bit of roofing took an hour, and then after that, it was a while. It definitely took a while to get it in a way that I thought it looked good. But yeah, so the outside of the house in my opinion, ends up looking really good. I spent so long trying to make it look right, and I think it definitely was worth it because it looks fantastic. You'll see at the end. I'm going to do a comparison and overlay what the photo looked like and then what this one looks like, and it ends up being really, really close, and I'm so happy about that fact. I think it looks fantastic. I'm very excited. The inside, I did not furnish like I normally would. Basically, what I made this house for is, it's very basic, because I don't get any idea of what the inside looks like based on the catalog pictures. I just know what the floor plan is. I don't actually know what it all looks like, other than like where the bathtub is and where the toilet is. And the bathroom is really empty, by the way. It's just gigantic and empty, but that's because it's right over the kitchen, and which I assume is because it would be easier for plumbing then. This is actually a house with built-in plumbing, which I think is fantastic. For the time, that was really, like, big, to be honest. So this probably was pretty expensive, really, all things considered. But I did end up just lightly furnishing everything on the inside instead of fully furnishing it, because it ended up, like, I didn't want to spend that time on it. You know what I mean? Especially since I don't think people would want to keep the furnishing how it would be. So if you guys download this, which by the way, it's up in my on my gallery, on the gallery under my ID kookykitt. So if you are interested in downloading this and furnishing it yourself, that would be really fun. I would love to see it. So if you do download it from the gallery and re-upload it or something, make sure you take some screenshots and tag me on Twitter. My Twitter is now Risa__ K-Meister. And it's Risa Krollmeister if you're looking for it. Which, yeah, I would love to see what other people do. I kind of want to do another video where I, like, make this a modern version. Like, at least take some of the builds that I've done, a couple of them, and modernize the house and what we would do with it, like, now. You know what I mean? I think that would be a lot of fun. Just, like, kind of like a fixer-upper type thing, but not. You know what I mean? Just kind of trying to make it cool. So now you're seeing me mess around with that bit of roof, which just honestly murdered me. And in a while you see me just completely delete that extra bit of roof. I was able to get it to work properly with my husband's help. So thankfully we do end up having that be what it's supposed to be, which I'm very happy with. I'm very proud of, because it was originally just not good. I also decided to make this like a yellow house. I very rarely do yellow houses, so it was fun to just make this one a yellow and white house. When I'm doing anything that has like this Victorian style, which my husband was like, it's not Victorian because Victoria was dead by 1908. And it's like, yes, I know, but that's the style. Like, that's what we call the style. I know that she was dead by then. I get it. But yeah. So what was I talking? I made it yellow. I was very excited about that. I like using garish colors for like Victorian style houses. I think it's really fun. It was really cool that I was able to get a lot of the windows to look actually like the windows in the picture. I was very excited about that. But yeah, so I also used a lot of Strangerville and cats and dogs in this build, and I think that's because they both lend themselves well to this style of build. Like, all of the Strangerville build and buy mode stuff is specifically, like, the Victorian style. And then cats and dogs is that Cape Cod style. So it definitely all works. What's really fun is that all of these rooms have built-in closets. Not all of them. One of them does not have a built-in closet. All of the others have built-in closets, but there's one upstairs that doesn't. And I'm like, I guess that was maybe a servant's quarters or something. Because that's the other thing, is that there are 2 sets of stairs, which totally means that there was, like, the back one is like a servant stair, isn't it? And it looks like there are no plans in it, but it looks like there's probably an attic in this, like, actual building, and I would think that that would be the servants' quarters kind of a thing, because this is obviously a very upscale house, you know? If you're buying this, it's probably worth quite a bit. And then, can you imagine getting this from a catalog and then, like, having to put all of that together yourself? Like, Man. Doesn't that seem ridiculous? I don't remember which of my friends was saying this, but one of them was like, can you imagine getting all of these parts? Oh, it was my friend Kira over on A Romantic Ace. She's also done a couple builds from catalogs like these. If you want to check out her channel, I will link it below, and I'll link a video that I think she did a video from, or maybe she just did it for the gallery. I don't remember. I'll still link her channel. I'll still link her channel down below, but she was saying, can you imagine getting this from a catalog and then straight up just like with IKEA level like instructions, and then just being like, okay, there you go, put it together yourself. But yeah, definitely you would probably hire builders to do it, but I don't know. So the build from now on out isn't super interesting. I'm just furnishing. So I want to talk about something right now that I don't think is really getting talked about much in the community. And to me, it's something that's very important and very near and dear to my heart. And it's the fact that we still don't have disability rep in The Sims 4. Like, we're talking about The Sims 5 now, and there is still no way to make, like, myself in The Sims true to my life at this point. We are, almost 7 years into The Sims 4, and we don't have anything as basic as a cane. And that is so ridiculous to me. Like, especially since in previous Sims games, we have had canes. Like, specifically in The Sims 3, we had, with Generations, came with a cane, and you could, like, choose what their walk style would be with the cane and stuff like that. And I think it's ridiculous we don't even have that in The Sims 4, because obviously we know that we can do it. It is something that is possible in The Sims. So I think it's ridiculous that we don't have it. Especially since, at least Americans, 1 in 4 Americans are disabled in some way. That doesn't mean that they're physically disabled. They might be, have a developmental disorder or something like that. But a lot of Americans are disabled. I don't know about the stats in other countries, so I apologize for that. I mostly do a lot of, I'm very active in the American disability community, especially on Twitter, which I highly recommend you follow some people, even if you're able-bodied, so that you can understand what the, like, current issues are. I would highly recommend following some people. I'll link some of my favorite ones in the description below. If I remember, I probably will. I'll probably remember. But I think it's very important that, especially if you are able-bodied, that you kind of read up on disability issues. So the fact that 1 in 4 Americans are disabled and we have no disability rep in The Sims is inexcusable, honestly, because we're the biggest minority, is the way to put it, right? There are so many of us, and physically, everyone is one bad car accident away from becoming disabled. It's not something that is impossible to happen to you. So the fact that it's not something that we get very much representation is, not only is it ridiculous to me, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, because people do realize that people are going to be aging into disabilities, for one thing. As you age, your body changes, and a lot of people end up with mobility issues and other things like that, arthritis, with osteoporosis, all of these things that you're aging into, no matter what you do with your life. Because here's the thing, is most of this is from genetics. It's not like, if you're physically fit and you spend your entire life eating all the right things and doing all the right exercises, you can still end up disabled just from your like just from your, your genetics, or from an accident, or anything like that. So it's ridiculous to not plan for that in a way. And I think it's also ridiculous then to ignore us, because anyone can join the disability community at any moment. So the fact that we're not getting any representation is, as I've said, ridiculous. So what do I think is important for disability rep? Because obviously a lot of it would be problematic, right? Trying to put in traits or something for a disability could end up being using harmful stereotypes, right? Which we've already seen with things like erratic and stuff like that, you know? All of these traits that they use in very problematic ways that, like, we've had in the past Sims games. I don't want that, obviously. So how do we do it? I think the first thing that we can do is work on physical disability rep. That is our easiest thing to do. And what would that involve? Some things are as easy as literally just an accessory that is a hearing aid. That would be so simple to make, and it is, like, custom content creators have been making this stuff. Same with, like, braces, right? I wear a lot of braces in my life because, as I've stated before, I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it means that my connective tissue is all wonky. It doesn't work right, so it means that my joints are constantly going in and out of place. So I wear a lot of braces to keep my joints in place. So just like that's just create a sim. You know what I mean? If I can just put an accessory on of a knee brace, I would feel fantastic using that. And then we have the actual objects, right? Of a cane. I use a mobility aid. I use a cane. I'm 29 years old and I've been using a cane since I was 24. So 23 actually. I got my first cane when I was 23 and I really should have had one before that. So I've been using canes for 6 years. And I would love to be able to see my sim self use a cane because that's what I do. That's how I live. So the fact that I can't mirror that in the Sims is upsetting to me. And that, again, we've seen that canes exist in past Sims games. We know it's not something that's, like, impossible to do in the Sims. Especially since we do have custom content creators putting these things in. So if they even, like, they don't want to do it themselves, if they just work with custom content creators that would, like, who already have, like, animations and stuff they use and they've created, if you work with them, then you don't even have that much work to do. You know what I mean? The other thing then would be crutches. I know a lot of people who use crutches day to day because they also have mobility issues. And wheelchairs. I understand wheelchairs are just so hard for them because The Sims 4 has nothing, like, you can't put down ramps, you can't put down elevators. Whereas that kind of stuff, we've seen elevators, right? We technically have them in game, and we've seen them in past games. So again, we know it's not impossible to do. We've used them for things like apartments and stuff. You don't even have to really have an animation for that, right? You just have them teleport from one point to the other. They enter the bottom one, they teleport up to the top one, they exit. That's not even, like, hard to do, really. I understand ramps are a little harder, but with wheelchairs, like, we have custom content creators who have made them. So we know it's not impossible. And I would love to see it because I have a lot of friends who use scooters, who use wheelchairs. And I would love to be able to see that in the game so that my friends can make themselves. And I think that it just feels to me like we're being told we don't matter. You know? Especially since we already have some accessibility issues in the games themselves. We didn't have scalable UI for years. And console players still don't have scalable UI, which again is an accessibility issue for the people who are seeing impaired. I don't think that's the word for it. I'm suddenly blanking, and I don't remember the right word, but you know what I mean. So that's an accessibility issue. That's what I was trying to say. For people who can't see very well or who play on like large scale things. So that's not even like for disabled people just like solely. You know what I mean? That's something that helps everyone, even people who don't have any kind of impairment. That's another thing that I'd love to see is just canes. Like not just like walking on them canes, but like seeing canes. You know what I mean? That would be really cool. Also, that's something that could be not a trait, because I think that's like the big issue, right? One of the biggest issues of like, how do we make disabilities in The Sims, like, because I've been talking about objects, right? Objects we can use to portray our disabilities. Like, you can just have a Sim and put them down as, I prefer them to use a cane. I put it in their inventory and I like set it as default mode of transport, like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So every time they walk, they'll use a cane. That's what it was like in Sims 3, at least. If you just put it in their inventory, I think it was, and you could do that. I should make a video comparing all of the things in past Sims games and do a lot of research on that to just kind of talk about it more. Try to put a pin in that. I would love to remember to do that, even though right now I'm talking about it and you're like, wow, you're probably going to remember that. The answer to that is no, because I have brain fog. And that goes along with my disability. That's one of my main issues, right? But how do we do it without just objects? Is there a way to make disabilities actually part of the gameplay instead of just aesthetic? Because that's the other thing I've seen, prosthetics. That's another thing I've seen custom content creators do. That would be fantastic because there are a lot of people who are missing limbs who I think would love to see themselves in The Sims. And custom content creators have made prosthetics, and that's, again, just to create a Sim item. But how would we go about actually using disability in The Sims? Because the thing is that do I want to have to sacrifice a trait slot to put down that I am mobility impaired? Should I have to do that? Does that have to be a trait that I use? I would like it to be something, but I think then what we need, and this is the difficult part, I agree, because this is going to require extra work, but we've made this kind of progress before. You know what I mean? Is to have like a separate thing that's not just traits in the same way as like personality traits, but to include a separate, how do I put it? Like how we have traits for like the bonus traits kind of thing, right? To have those that are like optional. So if I'm creating a Sim and I specifically want to say that they're deaf or hard of hearing, and there's an optional trait for that. And maybe we can have something like that are kind of more like bonus traits in the way that they work. And I would love to see that. Love to be able to just pick out that this person has, like, they're blind. I'd love to be able to just use a bonus trait for that. And I understand that for mental health and developmental disabilities, that still has, like, the danger of becoming really ableist, right? If you have a trait that says autistic, right? How do we do that in a sensitive way that doesn't end up like, the neurotic trait in The Sims, like Sims 3, or the erratic is it erratic in The Sims 4? I can't remember. But how do we stop that from happening? And I think that the answer to that is to work with creators, content creators, and who actually are disabled and talk to them about what they would like to see. Because there are so many, like, I know several autistic people who love The Sims. And then we have people like Plumbella who talk about her autism on her channel and how that affects her and how she likes to play The Sims because of it. And it's one of her special interests. So there are plenty of people that EA could be working with to actually reach out to these communities and see what they would like to see. Because that's how you do it in a way that's going to be sensitive to the actual communities, instead of being like, well, if we make this like bipolar trait, right, then it'll be perfect. But if you don't talk to bipolar people, you're likely to alienate them. So I think the main thing that needs to happen right now is EA needs to reach out to disabled creators. And that's just how it goes. So yeah, I'm reaching the end of the build now. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a like and leave me a comment telling me what you think about what I'm talking about, or what other builds you'd like to see me do. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell button to get a notification every time I post a new video. If you guys would like to see me talk about disability issues somewhere else, you can find me on my Twitter, which is linked in the description below, but it is Risa_Kmeister. Thank you guys so much for watching, and peace out, y'all.